Well, ladies and gents, to make the presentation to our fifth inductee, please welcome the 30th legend of Australian sport, tennis great, Ken Rosewall. Well, in the often unheralded world of sports administration, our next inductee is without peer for his work across two major sports.
John O'Neill. John O'Neill has worked as an energetic, groundbreaking chief executive for two of Australia's biggest sports, rugby union and football. John is credited with improving the popularity and financial strength of both. He brought the 2003 Rugby World Cup to Australia, and it was hailed as the most profitable ever. In football, he established the A-League in 2006 and oversaw the Socceroos qualification for the World Cup for the first time in more than 30 years. Tonight we recognise his contribution to sport as John O'Neill AO is inducted into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
John O'Neill, in 1995 you took a call that, well, it changed your life. What made you move from the banking world to head up the ARU?
Well, it was something different. And I'd had a long career in banking, 24 years, and the call came to run Australian Rugby Union. I had a real passion for the game, and I thought, why not? Thought I'd give it a few months. 8.5 years later, I was still there. So it was wonderful. It was great to be there at the start of the professional era. We achieved a lot, and I was quite passionate as time went on about raising the competence and the quality of governance and management in sport. The athletes that we rely on to make sport what it is, if you don't provide them with governance and management that they deserve, then the equation doesn't work out as it should.
We certainly made it work out very well, and we just saw on the highlights reel of your career the 2003 World Cup, which was so very successful, but bringing that to Australia, New Zealand wasn't without its challenges, was it? New Zealand pulling out, and Prime Minister John Howard looked pretty happy in those pictures, but he asked some tough questions, didn't he?
He did. Obviously the controversy between ourselves and New Zealand was right up there with the underarm bowling incident, and you get a call from the Prime Minister asking a direct question, do you know what you're doing? Because he'd had a call from the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Helen Clark, threatening all sorts of things. Thankfully I knew John Howard well. I said, this is what we're doing and why we're doing it. To his great credit, he said it's got nothing to do with the politicians, get on with it. And we did. Don't want to reopen old wounds. I'm sort of not looking to get a job in the diplomatic service, but we went for it, and we turned on a great tournament, and we almost won it. Last 28 seconds, unfortunately, an Englishman kicked a field goal, but fortunately a couple of weeks ago we got a bit of a revenge by beating England at Twickenham.
We certainly didn't. To be fair, Prime Minister, well, yes. Well done, the Wallabies, and we're looking forward to them continuing through. And before I ask you what you're expecting in that semi-final, you had another important call from another man that asked difficult questions. Frank Lowy, of course, recognised your administrative talents and got you over to football. Another challenge, another successful move, and one that really made a difference. You were at the cusp of that era that turned soccer into football. Australia went into Asia. Is that a move that still delights you? You developed a real appreciation for the code, didn't you?
Look, those 3 years, Stephanie, were just the most exciting of my career in a sense. We had a blank canvas. Frank Lowy's determination, perseverance, never say die attitude is just what you need. And he promised that he would park the politics of football and allow me to get on with the job. And he did. So we did things quickly, which is quite unusual in sport, and it fell into place. We needed a bit of luck. Mark Schwarzer and John Aloisi helped out on that wonderful night 10 years ago in November. But we laid all these strategic foundations, and it's fantastic to see football where it is, 12 or 13 years later. But it's an example of how, taking strategic decisions and executing them quickly and well with good people. And I have a lot of good people with me here tonight who made me look good. A management team that you can only dream about. And I think back about those years, and clearly Frank deserves enormous credit, but a lot of people played their part, including the Socceroos, the A-League owners who put up a lot of money to fund clubs, and then the move into Asia. And it's a tricky world, the politics of FIFA and Asia, but we were, in life, when the window opens, get through it and get through it quickly.
Tricky world, the politics of FIFA. That's the understatement of the evening, John O'Neill. Before we let you go, you're ideally placed to tell us how the last stages of this Rugby World Cup are going to play out. Will we be bringing Bill home?
Look, I've been there for the last couple of weeks, and we're in a tough pool, and we prevailed. Great wins against England and Wales. There's a lot of talk about how close the game was against Scotland. Look, it's time to move on. Referees in every sport make mistakes, but hey, it cuts both ways. Michael Checker's a very good coach, a real players coach. I think we will make the final, and then it's a two-horse race. All Blacks are the form team and have been for many, many years. But look, I'm very hopeful we return, well, they return for the third time with the William Webb Ellis Trophy. When I see Ricky Ponting up on the stage and the quality of the people, the athletes that I'm privileged to be in the company of tonight, the health and well-being of many of the big sports, particularly rugby union, football, cricket. If the national team is firing, the health and well-being of the game is in great shape. And I just hope the Wallabies fire. I hope the Socceroos fire. I hope the cricket team fires, because then it's the feel-good factor for all the people who live and breathe sport in this country, as we've heard tonight. It's in our DNA. And when we're doing well and when we're punching above our weight, all of Australia feels good. And that's great for the country.
John O'Neill, your administrative legacy lives on. Welcome to the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Thanks, Stephanie.